right, thank you and welcome all. I'm also touching the laptop. Oh. Well, welcome, thank you for coming on this lovely evening. I hope you have been enjoying the sunshine. My name is Darshana Merchant and I am the Reference and Outreach Librarian here at the Norwood Memorial Library. It is my pleasure to kick off a 4-part series called Entrepreneurship 101 here at the library. Today's program is the first one in the series. It is Business Grows Norwood. I think there is no other better way to launch this series than to let people know what town has to offer in terms of resources. Even if you are a new entrepreneur or an established business but have not tapped into the resources here. So here to give us more information about that, we have two presenters. We have Joe Collins, he is the Director of the Economic Development for the town of Norwood. And we have Tom O'Rourke, who is the President of Neponset River Regional Chamber. Before I hand the microphone over to Joe, I would like to go through a little housekeeping points. If you can silence your phones at this time, that would be perfect. We can all enjoy this very important presentation. If anybody needs water, restrooms, water is right here or not. There's a water bubble outside. There's one restroom on this floor and 3 downstairs. And since I have all you as a captive audience, I would like to promote a program. It's the next in this series and it's called Starting and Growing Your Small Business. So this is presented by Trisha White, who is the Small Business Development Officer for NeighborWorks, and she's actually going to take people through planning stages, from formulating an idea to marketing to financing to how to measure success, how to inventory your community, that sort of thing. So if you want to sign up, there are some flyers out there. You can just take it or just sign up on our website. And we are launching a new business resources corner, which is, if you go out the ceremony room, it's right on your right side. We're going to have all these flyers that you see on the left side right over there, along with some books if you want to take home. This program will be 2 presentations followed by Q&A. So if you have any questions, just wait until then. Once we are finished, we'll take questions. That's okay. And now, please welcome please join me in welcoming Tom and Joe. Thank you.
So my name is Joe Collins. I'm the Economic Development Director for the town of Norwood. I've been in the position for about 3 years now. And part of the staff is just one person. So in economic development at the local level, there's typically like 3 major areas where a department might focus on: business retention, expansion, attraction, and small business development, and entrepreneurship. I focus most of my time on business retention and expansion, but I still do commit a decent amount of my time to attraction and entrepreneurship as well. So I'm going to go over each area and a few other areas of economic development where I'm working trying to help the town Norwood. The purpose of business retention and expansion is basically trying to keep and retain businesses that you have in Norwood, and assist with expansion assistance if that opportunity arises. So Norwood is largely built out. We don't have very many available buildings. We don't have very many open sites or buildings. Certainly no greenfield, which would be an open area that's just flat, nothing on it, but very easy to develop. So naturally, business retention expansion is an area where it makes a lot of sense for someone like me working in Norwood to focus on. How do you do that? Typically, a lot of information collection and completing site visits. In calendar year 2023, I met with 22 companies. Learned a lot about the companies, some of their challenges, things like that. Usually, after the meeting, you have a follow-up where you try to accomplish a lot of, or try to possibly fix or address some of their concerns, and if the opportunity arises, help them with expansion efforts. In the last few years, there have been a few companies in town have completed some fairly major expansions, including from Global, Moderna, basically perpetually growing, Applied Plastics, and some others as well. So it can range from, usually side business can range from, usually discussions we have can range from workforce development, discussing lighting, retrofit, rebate programs, which is another side of my job, which I'll get to later, as well as some other challenges that I'll be dealing with. One common issue that some businesses in town are dealing with is simply just traffic issues, and they don't know where to go to. So, being involved with the town of Norwood, I know which department to go to, and hopefully I can resolve that issue for them. The second, as I mentioned, leg of the School for Economic Development would be attraction, and that is effectively simply trying to attract companies outside of Norwood and trying to move them into Norwood in order to increase our tax base as well as the number of jobs. This is really where economic development as a profession got to start, mostly in the southeast, actually trying to poach companies from places like New England and New York to places in the south where they have a much more stronger competitive advantage with terms of things like cost, lower labor cost, utilities, regulations are a little bit easier. That still happens today. In fact, a lot of companies in Norwood and the state are likely getting cold calls from people in positions like myself in municipalities and states in the southeast, which is another with our with current build out in Norwood. It also makes sense for me to be focusing on BR&E, which is basically an economic development, a lot like defense versus attraction, which is it's sometimes more like offense. But we certainly have some advantages in Norwood. We have an extremely highly educated workforce. Infrastructure is outstanding. The university system is basically bar none. I mean, having Harvard and Cambridge within 45 minutes in Norwood is. I've heard people that say they have two of the best universities in the world within driving distance. I do work with some other organizations at the state level, MassEcon, which is actually a nonprofit, as well as the Mass Office of Business Development. They regularly get information from companies in the around the country or even the world looking to relocate or expand. They'll usually put out feelers around the area for either economic developers like myself or real estate developers looking for locations for possibly moving to Norwood. We've had a couple interests. Attraction, the success rate is usually quite low if you're managing to attract someone, a major employer every 10 years. You're quite successul. Prospecting, which I mentioned before, would be considered someone cold calling a company or emailing them, trying to get them to move away from a certain location. That's something I really focus on much. Site building and database is an important component to attraction. It's also quite useful in BR&E and small business development and entrepreneurship, which I have a database on my webpage, and if I can just hand out this presentation, not hand out the presentation, give the PDF later. Like to look at it if they're looking for a location in Norwood. Incentives are also usually a common tool used in attraction. Not all the time, but it is a tool that's available. So the third leg of the stool, small business development and entrepreneurship. I put a little bit of information about some statistics about small businesses in the United States. Over just a little under almost 99% of businesses in the United States are qualified for the SBA definition of a small business, which is under 500 employees. 59 million individuals work for small businesses in the United States, which is roughly about 46%. Well, it's not all great. There is some very real risk that if anyone is considering looking at starting their business, there's very real risk. According to the Chamber of Commerce at the national level, close to 20% fail within their first year, 50% fail in the first 5, and 65% fail in the first 10. So although exciting and great for the economy, there are some very real risks to doing so. So there's a lot of different activities that I could focus on as an economic developer. Being that I'm a person working, I'm also doing business retention expansion and a little bit of attraction. I can't quite do everything, but there are a lot of areas where I can help out small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs. Mostly as a convener. Fortunately, in Massachusetts, there are dozens of technical assistance providers, including Trish White, who's actually going to be presenting, as Darshana mentioned, is going to be presenting in about 2 weeks, 1 month, sorry. If you want to learn more about the nuts and bolts of starting a business, please go to that. Trish is outstanding. And that's also one of the is interested in learning more about starting a business or learning more about HR, accounting, cash flow, anything like that. She'd be one of the first people I would tell you to go talk to. Route access to capital help, financial alternatives. So Massachusetts is outstanding, and debt financing is available here like everywhere, right? But we also have, per capita, we're number one. We're roughly close to New York and California in terms of venture capital investments. So in terms of equity, if you are starting a business that might be able to have a high growth potential, there's a lot of venture capital available in Massachusetts that could help you take your business to the next step. Providing recognition and to successful entrepreneurs and also ribbon cuttings. More than willing to do that. I always love celebrating entrepreneurs' success stories and small businesses. Ribbon cuttings, however, Tom does a great job of that, and usually just invites me so I get to participate in those. Some other things I do, I have a monthly newsletter which includes information about some new buildings and sites that became available on the market, grants, usually rebates, trainings, maybe things like that, things like this. Actually, if you were to apply, or if you were to sign up, you're going to actually see a couple of more of Darshana's entrepreneurship series course seminars are going to be on there. 2 months ago, I held a matchmaker event, actually with Tom and the SBA, where we had about 30 exhibitors, technical assistants, and lenders. I came out to talk to about 100 individuals looking to expand their small business or start a new one. I don't think we'll be able to quite do that every single year, but I'm absolutely planning to do it again in the future. Another thing, helping Darshana with this series, there's going to be a few more. And also the repository of resources which I maintain on my website, which is also a core component of all three facets of economic development. So Massachusetts Small Business Development Center, SCORE, Center for Women Enterprises, Mass Development. There are dozens that can help you from lending, technicals, every kind of area of technical assistance you might need help with. There's even some state-run organizations like Mass Ventures that can provide equity, Osprey Regional Chamber of Town, and several more. So I can also act as an ombudsman. What that basically means is trying to assisting businesses navigate the regulatory and permitting process with Norwood, which can be complicated. Not so much our fault, I would blame more the Commonwealth. It can vary dramatically on the type of business. If you're opening a restaurant, it could involve a common vicular license, a food license from the public health department. If you're getting alcohol, it might require a liquor license from the Board of Selectmen. You might end up going to the building department. So there's really an endless array of in this roadmap that you might have to go down if you are opening a business in Norwood, not just Norwood, but anywhere in the state. I'm also the key accounts manager with the Norwood Lights Department. And being a key accounts manager is basically kind of like doing BR&E, as I mentioned before, but for an electric utility. So it's really much more of a focus on their electric needs and issues and things like that. I also help manage the commercial and industrial rebate program, which now includes lighting, heat pumps, and refrigeration. And we have a great relationship with Julie Barber Issa, who runs the Mass Save program for mostly small businesses in Norwood and Sharon. So there are some areas where you might not qualify for Norwood Life programs, but you will. That will mean that you would qualify for Mass Saves. So that's in my presentation. I can take questions now, or do you want to wait for that? Okay.
Dr. Tommy.
All right, thanks, Joe. And thank you all for being here and for either having a business or considering opening or starting up a business. That's great. I just came, you mentioned ribbon cuttings. My kids think that's all I do is ribbon cuttings, so we have big scissors. Hopefully you'll learn tonight that there's more to what we do than that, but I just came from a ribbon cutting in Dedham. There was a woman who spent 35 years, had a very successful career working for companies like Reebok and others in the shoe industry, and left it to open up a med spa, a really high-end med spa, which we're seeing a lot of these days. We've had about 4 or 5 of them join within the last year. So that's become popular. But, so again, I'm Tom O'Rourke. I'm the president of the Neponset River Regional Chamber. We are the Chamber of Commerce for this region. We kind of cover, I tell people, from Legacy Place to Patriot Place. We're a nonprofit organization governed by a board of directors, and we serve our members in the community. We go back to 1894, started out here in Norwood as the Norwood Business Association, eventually became the Board of Trade, and the Chamber of Commerce, and then we started to grow, became the Neponset Valley Chamber, and in 2019 we rebranded as the Neponset River Regional Chamber. Our mission is to enhance quality of life and economic development in the region by supporting and connecting business, community, education, and government. And I show you that because it really, I think, is important to know that the key word there is connecting. We're a connector. We connect business to business primarily, but we also are a community organization and care about the community, so we connect in other ways too, to government, to Joe's office, to state government. We work very closely with them, as you'll see in the presentation, and we do a lot of work with the schools, which you'll also see. These are some of our bigger members. We've got about 450 businesses that belong to the chamber. Any type of business can belong, from somebody working alone out of their house to some of these bigger corporations that you're familiar with here. A lot of the local restaurants, Lewis's, Conrad's, Vico, all different types of businesses are members, or can be members of the chamber. We did a survey of our members a few years ago to find out why they belong to the chamber. Here are some of the responses that they had, but it really was about being part of the community, knowing that we're going to be there to advocate for them at the state and local level. They want to just support what we do, and they appreciate our efforts around preparing students for college and career, among other things. So Joe mentioned economic development. That's more his forte than mine, but we do get involved in some ways in economic development to ensure a thriving economy. The biggest thing that we do at the chamber is we're involved in local and state transportation issues. So part of my job is to serve on a board of directors that allocates federal highway funding to local projects in the region. And some of these you may be familiar with here, particularly if you've driven down Route 1A in Norwood by Upland Road recently. It's a bit of a mess. We'll take some of the blame for that. But basically, that's a project that the town has been wanting to get done for some time to make that area safer. I know I was involved in a car accident there years ago. It's very dangerous. It needs upgrading. My role on this transportation board is to advocate for funding of projects like that. So that's a big piece of what I do. Some of the other projects there, Route 1A and all that was done the last couple of years. I was another one funded through that. So we're there to be the voice of not only the business community, but the community in general, to advocate for funding of those projects. We also support different programs like tax increment financing, which is a tool that the town used to get Moderna to come to town. And I think they've used it with FM Global as well and others. And MassWorks grants, other grants that businesses can qualify for. We advocate for those, but our role in that is working with other chambers and employer groups in the state is how those programs came about. They wouldn't exist if it wasn't for organizations like chambers and other employer groups who advocated to create these tools that can help us attract business. During COVID, it was a very interesting time because, like I said, we're about connecting and bringing people together. And when COVID hit, it basically ended that. We couldn't do events and programs and bring people together at all. But what we found is that we did have a big role to play. Here are some of the things that we were able to do. We got some state funding on a couple of programs for over a 2-year period that allowed us to work with small businesses to give them technical training on their website, on their social media marketing programs, to help them bring their business online at a time when they couldn't see people face to face. So when they were impacted negatively by COVID, we were able to bring them direct help to help them basically pivot and turn their business into more of an online type of business. We had all sorts of information and resources that we got from all of our partners around the country, really, from the U.S. Chamber to the CDC, SBA. They were constantly pushing out information for small businesses and what small businesses could do to survive during that time. Our job was to curate it and to package it in a way that people could understand and utilize it and get it out to the business community. We did a lot of that. We were an advocate for the SBA's loan program, the EIDL loan, which was $10,000, initially $10,000 grants, and then loans that small businesses would get. The paycheck protection program, which kept a lot of businesses in business during COVID. Employee retention tax credits. These were all programs that businesses were able to get because of the advocacy of chambers like us throughout the country. We advocated for unemployment insurance relief, restaurant relief. We did work with the town on outdoor dining regulations, which allowed a lot of the restaurants to come back and do outdoor dining. And basically during COVID, we had started out, I think, as weekly calls with the Economic Development Office in Norwood, and eventually bi-weekly and then monthly. We still have those calls to communicate on what the needs are that we're seeing out there. We also have monthly calls, or weekly, that became monthly calls with the state's Economic Development Office on the different programs that were available to people and how they can take advantage of them. We ran a restaurant week program for a couple of years, again, trying to support the restaurants at a time when they really get hammered. We do some work in workforce development, primarily by working with the local high schools on career awareness programs. We've done back to school days where we actually bring business people into the classroom to see what the kids are doing and find out the kind of programs that they're learning from. And then we do programs where we bring the kids out of the classroom into meetings with the business community for them to learn about different career options for them. So that when somebody thinks about maybe working, if we had a hospital, thinking about working in a hospital, it's not just a nurse or a doctor. You know, there are so many other types of jobs in the hospital setting that young kids don't understand. So we would bring people other than nurses and doctors to talk to the kids about the different types of options they have for career, college and career. Other educational programs that we provide for our members. We've done a series of technology seminars. We most recently did one on artificial intelligence, where we had a panel of experts talking about how to use artificial intelligence in your business to make your business more effective and more efficient. It was excellent stuff. That's the top photo there. A lot of people came out to that. We've done human resources seminars. A lot of businesses start up. They're great at what they do, but they don't understand the human resource regulatory environment necessarily. They don't necessarily know how to deal with paid family and medical leave, things like that. That's not their bailiwick. They're focused on the business. So we provide programs like this where they can come and learn from experts about the things they need to be aware of. Quick seminars. workplace wellness, other things like that. So a lot of different programs for the smaller businesses that just don't have the staff to specialize in those areas. We tell our members that, you know, just because somebody joins the chamber doesn't mean they have to be the ones who get involved. Any one of their staff members can get involved. So if they have a particular interest in HR or education, or you know, they got young people working for them that want to get involved, there's a lot of different areas that they can plug in and find opportunities to get involved in the community and with the chamber. And again, connecting the business community, we do a lot of networking events throughout the course of the year. We're really known for our networking lunches, our after-hours events where we bring people together so they can get to know each other. People do business with people they know and trust, and we create an environment for people to do that. But we also do some bigger events which are a little more fun. We have our annual meeting. We give out some awards to recognize local businesses that are doing good in the community. We do a golf tournament. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we had a Taste of the Region where we bring a lot of the local restaurants and caterers together to give out samples of food and drink. Great event. And our Chamber Talks series is sort of get thought leaders on different issues to come together. The most recent one we did on that had to do with mass exodus. You read the stories about people leaving the state and a lot of talent leaving the state. What can we do to keep people here? How do we create housing opportunities, which each community is dealing with right now? So we brought those experts together to talk about things like that. There's different marketing opportunities for members of the chamber to sponsor events, to advertise in our newsletters, our social media, in print media as well. And then we always like to tell people that, you know, even if you don't get involved in the chamber, you just join. It means something to, you know, you see the sticker in the window or the sticker on your website that says you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, because it says that you care about the community. And the survey just last year, a National Harris poll said that when people know a member of a company is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, they generally hold them in higher esteem and are more likely to do business with them. This is a video I won't show up, but it's a few different testimonials from our state rep and other members. And then lastly, just a couple of fun facts. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I learn a lot about other chambers around the country and the world even. And there was a book I read that talked a little bit about, at the end of the day, a chamber is often a group of people that get together, business people that get together and say, what if we did this? And so Chamber of Commerce in Atlantic City got together and said, what if we had a beauty pageant? And that started the Miss America pageant. In Punxsutawney, Philadelphia, what if we recognized Groundhog's Day with some funky thing? To that whole thing. The LA Chamber said, what if we did a Hollywood Walk of Fame? And then in St. Louis, the St. Louis Chamber, Charles Lindbergh was looking for funding for his flight. He couldn't get it anywhere, so he finally went to the board of directors of the chamber, told them what he wanted to do, and they raised the funds to fly him across the ocean. So we haven't done anything that dramatic here, but one day, what if we'll come up with something? Maybe like, what if we had a hospital? We're working on that too. But that's it for me. And happy to answer any questions. Questions from anyone for either of us?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
How would a solopreneur service provider use the resources from the town and the chamber to get started and get going?
Yeah, if you just want to call me or send me an email, happy to talk to you about what you're looking for, and I can do what I can to put you in the right direction.
Yeah, I think one thing I kind of went over maybe too fast, and one piece of it was Joe mentioned SBA, Mass Small Business Development Center. There are numerous organizations out there that are almost all free resources for startups. And we're kind of the resource, the quarterback. We can tell you which one to go to, that's gonna help you for whatever it is you're looking for, whether it's a marketing plan, business plan, financing. But there's so much out there that doesn't cost anything. And I think a lot of businesses try to start out on their own, and they don't realize about these resources until after they either started or failed. If we can help direct you in the right direction from the beginning, it increases your chances.
I think it's good. Every organization I've listed on my slide deck is completely free. And even though I do focus more on some of the bigger companies in town, if anyone asks me for help, I'm never going to say no. That was just my job. I also enjoy talking to someone. Entrepreneurs, I think, are really exciting people and love hearing about their ideas and do what I can to hopefully make their dreams come true.
Yeah, I was talked a little bit about kind of business retention and expansion, kind of how can we get businesses to come to Norwood and also keep them here. But I was just wondering, are there any kind of like specific initiatives that you have to kind of create connections between businesses that already exist in Norwood? Kind of like sometimes the money is like will attract a company to Norwood, but it's headquartered somewhere else, and a lot of that money is leaving Norwood. Versus if businesses are coming to Norwood, but they're also trading with people who are in Norwood, that money is coming and kind of circulating within the town. So.
Yeah, that's an important part of a good technique with business retention and expansion is possibly pointing out that maybe your suppliers, maybe there's a supplier who might be a little bit closer, to Norwood that might make more sense, and pointing that out to them can be a good choice. We don't have a ton of manufacturers that you can basically have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But if it ever comes up, that's something that I'll definitely bring up.
Yeah. Because it would probably be more relevant to services businesses, where if there's an import substitution possibility, I guess, for a service business.
In terms of, when you mentioned connecting, that also made me think of Tom's role in holding networking events and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of what we do when we talk to our members about networking. It's the first thing they think of is I'm going to meet someone and they're going to do business with me, right? And that's great. That's what we want. But what I try to tell them is that it's not just that. It's that number one, you're going to build a group of people that you can rely on to talk about business issues that you're having. So you get like a board of advisors for nothing. But we also encourage them to do business with each other whenever they can, to support each other. We're all in this community together, so it's always helpful to remind them of that. Yep. If anyone's interested in this information about the chamber and these books over here, you can take those with you. It's got a lot of information about us. Our members are listed there. Contact information, website, all that stuff is in there. But if you ever want to come to an event or anything like that, just for free as a guest, just let me know. I'd be happy to have you.
More of a library point of view question. If we get people asking about starting a small business, we'll definitely give your contact information. Is there a cost associated with joining the chamber?
Yeah, the chamber is a membership organization.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get virtually all of our funding comes from our members through either membership dues or sponsorships. So the local banks are big supporters of us with sponsorships and things like that. And then we have our membership base, which is starts at $350 a year for a small business, and goes up depending. Moderna pays a lot more than that.
But I think once they get the membership, then they are free to attend all the events that
Yeah.
you hold throughout the year. One one question for Joe as well. In the same vein, if somebody asks, because they do at the desk, who can we contact? Because they're thinking of starting a new business, is it okay for us to either direct them to you?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And Darshan printed off some really nice just some pamphlets that are outside around the corner. Also has a QR code to my webpage, and I left some business cards over there too. If wants to email or call me, or I'll stick around for a few minutes too after the event.
I think it is important because a lot of people feel that they are not big enough for a company or a corporation, or their business is going to be really small, that they don't want to bother people
No,
in town. But so
Yeah, you're gonna
it will be good to reassure them that they definitely can email or contact you.
Okay.
Both. Thank you.